Welcome to Piazza Unita d'Italia, one of Europe's most breathtaking squares and the largest sea-facing square on the continent. Located in the heart of Trieste, this majestic space is a grand testament to the city's diverse cultural heritage and rich maritime history. The square is surrounded on three sides by elegant neoclassical and Baroque buildings, with the fourth side opening directly onto the Adriatic Sea. This rare, open to the sea design makes it feel as though the city is reaching out to embrace the waves. On calm days, the blue of the sea seems to merge with the stone of the square, creating an unforgettable panorama. Historically, Piazza Unita d'Italia was not always known by this name. Before Italy's unification, it was simply called Piazza Grande, or the Great Square. Its current name, which means Square of Italian Unity, was adopted after Trieste officially became part of Italy in the early 20th century, marking the end of a complex period when the city was under Austro-Hungarian rule. The architectural gems surrounding the square tell stories of this diverse past. The Grand Town Hall, with its richly decorated facade, dominates the square, flanked by other historical buildings such as the Palazzo del Governo and Palazzo Pitteri. Each structure reflects a different chapter in Trieste's multicultural journey, blending Italian, Austro-Hungarian, and Slovenian influences. One of the most enduring stories of the square involves its symbolic importance. During World War I and the decades that followed, Trieste became a contested city, caught between empires and nations. When Italian troops finally marched into the square in 1918, it was seen as a deeply emotional moment, symbolizing the long-awaited unity of the Italian people. There's also a local legend that adds a touch of mystery to the square's grand image. Some say that on quiet nights, if you listen carefully near the Fountain of the Four Continents, you can hear the whispers of sailors from centuries past. Trieste was a major port of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and ships from all over the world would dock here. According to the legend, the spirits of these seafarers remain tied to the place they once called home, sharing their stories with the sea breeze. Today, Piazza Unita d'Italia is not only a place of political and historical significance but also a living, vibrant space where locals and visitors come together. It hosts concerts, festivals, and public celebrations, yet always retains its sense of elegance and grandeur. Standing here, with the sea stretching out before you and history written into every stone, it is impossible not to feel the weight of time and the stories of countless generations who have crossed this square. Piazza Unita d'Italia is not just the heart of Trieste, it is a place where history, beauty, and myth are forever united. River, Praça do Comércio is one of Lisbon's most iconic landmarks. Known in English as the Commerce Square, this vast and open space is where history, architecture, and the soul of Portugal all come together. With its grand arcades, elegant yellow facades, and the monumental Arco da Rua Augusta, it is a symbol of Lisbon's resilience and maritime glory. The square was built on the ruins of the Royal Ribeira Palace, which was completely destroyed during the catastrophic Lisbon earthquake of 1755. The disaster, one of the deadliest in European history, devastated much of the city. Following the tragedy, Portugal's Prime Minister, the Marquis of Pombal, led a bold reconstruction project that transformed Lisbon into one of Europe's most modern capitals. Praça do Comércio was at the heart of this vision, a place that would symbolize the rebirth of the city and its enduring connection to the sea. Praça do Comércio served as the main entrance to Lisbon for centuries. When arriving by ship, this was the first site that greeted visitors and traders from around the world. The square became a busy hub of commerce and diplomacy, where goods from Portugal's vast colonial empire were traded and distributed. Dominating the center of the square is the equestrian statue of King Jose I. He is depicted calmly on horseback, trampling snakes that represent the obstacles Portugal overcame to rebuild the city. The statue, cast in bronze, was a striking artistic achievement at the time and remains one of Lisbon's proudest monuments. One of the most fascinating stories tied to Praça do Comércio is the assassination of King Carlos I of Portugal and his heir in 1908. The king's carriage was ambushed right at the square's northern exit, an event that shocked the nation and accelerated the fall of the Portuguese monarchy. The place where this dramatic event unfolded is still a quiet reminder of a turning point in Portuguese history. There is also a layer of myth surrounding the square. Local tradition holds that the Tagus River, which gently laps at the square's edge, carries the voices of explorers who set sail centuries ago. From this very shoreline, famous navigators like Vasco da Gama embarked on journeys that would change the world. According to legend, their spirits still whisper in the sea breeze, guiding those who listen closely. The Arco de Rua Augusta, which majestically frames the entrance to the Piazza district, is another powerful symbol. The arch celebrates the strength of the Portuguese people and offers panoramic views over the city and river. It is a reminder that from tragedy, beauty and resilience can rise. Today, Praça do Comércio is a vibrant gathering place for locals and visitors alike. Street performers, open-air cafes, and the gentle sound of the river create an atmosphere of calm, yet the echoes of Lisbon's imperial past are always present. The square is not just a grand civic space, it is the living heart of Lisbon's story, where every step carries the weight of history and the promise of discovery. In Zaragoza is one of the largest and most impressive pedestrian squares in Europe. More than just a public space, it is the spiritual and cultural heart of the city, where history, faith, and everyday life blend into a living tapestry. Stretching along the river Ebro, this vast square is home to some of Zaragoza's most important landmarks, and it holds stories that have shaped the identity of the region. The square is dominated by the Grand Basilica of Our Lady of the Pillar, a masterpiece of Baroque architecture. According to legend, the story of this basilica begins with one of the oldest Marian apparitions in Christian history. It is said that in the year 40 AD, the Virgin Mary appeared to the Apostle James while he was preaching in what was then a small Roman settlement. She appeared atop a marble pillar and instructed James to build a church on that very spot. When she disappeared, she left behind the pillar as a lasting sign of her presence. Today, that sacred pillar is enshrined inside the basilica and continues to draw pilgrims from across the world. The square itself has witnessed centuries of life, from grand religious processions to political gatherings and everyday markets. Over time, the surrounding architecture has grown to include other significant landmarks, such as La Sio Cathedral, which displays a fascinating blend of Romanesque, Gothic, and Mudéjar styles, as well as the Fountain of Hispanicity, a modern sculpture that celebrates the cultural unity of the Spanish-speaking world. One of the most remarkable stories tied to Plaza del Pilar occurred during the Spanish Civil War. In 1936, several bombs were dropped on the basilica during an air raid. Strangely, none of the bombs exploded. This event was seen by many as a miracle and became part of the deep spiritual narrative surrounding the square. To this day, the defused bombs are displayed inside the basilica as a quiet testimony to the moment when destruction seemed certain but was mysteriously avoided. The square is not only about religious devotion. It is a place where people gather to celebrate, to protest, to perform, and to simply enjoy the rhythm of daily life. The annual Fiestas del Pilar, held in October, transforms the square into a vibrant stage of color, music, and tradition. Thousands gather to offer flowers to the Virgin of the Pillar, creating an enormous floral pyramid that fills the square with fragrance and devotion. There is also a legend that on clear, quiet nights, the bells of the basilica can be heard ringing softly, even when no one is pulling the ropes. Some believe it is a gentle reminder that the Virgin continues to watch over the city, protecting Zaragoza as she has since ancient times. Today, Plaza del Pilar remains a place of beauty, faith, and community. Whether you come for the architectural wonders, the history, or simply to stroll by the fountains under the vast open sky, the square invites you to pause and feel the heartbeat of Zaragoza, a place where the past and the present stand side by side in peaceful conversation. Is one of Rome's most beloved and beautiful squares, a grand open space that perfectly captures the spirit of the eternal city. It is a place where art, architecture, and daily life come together in a setting that feels almost theatrical. Surrounded by Baroque palaces, lively cafes, and three remarkable fountains, Piazza Navona has been at the center of Roman life for centuries. What makes Piazza Navona especially fascinating is its shape. Unlike most city squares, it retains the elongated, oval outline of an ancient Roman stadium. In fact, beneath the square lie the remains of the Stadium of Domitian, built in the 1st century AD. This stadium once hosted athletic games, known as agons, which is where the name Navona is believed to have originated, evolving from the word in agon. Over time, the sporting venue disappeared, but its footprint remained, preserved forever in the form of the square. Today, the square is famous for its stunning fountains, each with its own story. At the center stands Bernini's masterpiece, the Fountain of the Four Rivers. This dramatic sculpture represents four major rivers from four continents: the Nile, the Ganges, the Danube, and the Rio de la Plata. Each figure is carved with exquisite detail, expressing both the beauty and the power of nature. Above them rises an ancient Egyptian obelisk, creating a striking visual centerpiece. There is a famous story about the rivalry between Bernini and Borromini, another great architect of the time, who designed the nearby church of St. Agnes in Agon. According to legend, Bernini's sculptures show subtle signs of disdain for Borromini's work. One of the river gods is said to be shielding his eyes as if the church might collapse at any moment. However, this tale, though widely repeated, is most likely a myth, as the fountain was completed before the church's facade was even built. Still, the story remains a charming part of the square's lore and adds to its sense of playful intrigue. Piazza Navona has not always been a quiet, elegant space. For centuries, it was a lively market and, during the hot Roman summers, it was occasionally flooded to create mock naval battles and provide cool relief for the residents. These spectacles, known as the flooding of Piazza Navona, were a popular attraction, where water would rise and turn the square into a shallow lake. Another layer of myth surrounds the Church of St. Agnes in Agon itself. It is dedicated to Saint Agnes, a young Roman martyr who, according to tradition, was exposed in the stadium and miraculously protected from shame by her hair growing long enough to cover her. Her courage and faith continue to inspire, and the church stands as a testament to her story. Today, Piazza Navona is a place of endless movement. Artists, musicians, tourists, and Romans alike fill the square from morning until late into the night. The sounds of laughter, music, and the gentle splash of fountains create an atmosphere that is both grand and intimate. Piazza Navona is not just one of the most beautiful squares in Rome. It is a space where history is alive, where legends linger, and where every corner invites you to pause, to wonder, and to be part of a story that has been unfolding for nearly 2,000 years. At the heart of Lille, the Grand Place, officially known as Place du Général de Gaulle, is a vibrant square that has long been the center of the city's social, cultural, and commercial life. Surrounded by richly decorated buildings, charming cafes, and the rhythms of daily life, the Grand Place is where the past and present come together in seamless harmony. The square takes its popular name from its grandeur and its function as the city's primary gathering place. For centuries, markets, festivals, public announcements, and even military parades filled this space. The official name honors Charles de Gaulle, the French general and statesman, who was born in Lille in 1890 and whose legacy remains deeply tied to the city. The architecture around the square is a beautiful reflection of Lille's unique history. The facades reveal a blend of Flemish and French influences, with ornate gables, colorful bricks, and elegant stonework. The most striking building is the Vieille Bourse, or the Old Stock Exchange, a masterpiece of 17th-century Flemish Renaissance style. With its delicate arcades, sculptures, and a peaceful inner courtyard, it stands as one of the most treasured monuments in Lille. Once the center of commerce, it now welcomes both markets and chess players, creating a quiet refuge amid the lively square. In the center of Grand Place stands the Column of the Goddess, a monument that carries one of Lille's most enduring stories. It commemorates the siege of Lille in 1792, during the French Revolutionary Wars, when Austrian forces bombarded the city. According to the story, the citizens of Lille showed extraordinary courage, resisting the siege with determination. The statue of the goddess atop the column holds a linstock, a tool used to light cannons, symbolizing the spirit of defense and the strength of the people. The nickname the goddess came from the people of Lille themselves, who saw in her not just a symbol of victory, but also a protective presence watching over their city. Some local traditions even suggest that the statue carries a special kind of luck, and touching the column is said to bring good fortune, though this remains a quiet, personal ritual rather than a widely publicized practice. Grand Place has also witnessed its share of legends. One such tale speaks of secret tunnels that are said to lie beneath the square, remnants from times of war and revolution. Though few traces have ever been confirmed, the idea of hidden passages under the footsteps of everyday life adds a layer of mystery to this already storied place. Today, Grand Place remains the beating heart of Lille. It hosts Christmas markets, summer festivals, and the famous Braderie de Lille, one of Europe's largest flea markets. The square is alive with the sounds of street musicians, the aroma of fresh pastries, and the gentle hum of conversations that seem to echo the voices of centuries past. More than just a beautiful square, Grand Place is a living space that tells the story of Lille's resilience, its openness, and its joy. It invites everyone, whether a local, a visitor, or a passerby, to pause, to look up, and to feel connected to a city that has always welcomed the world with open arms. Trafalgar Square is one of London's most famous public spaces, a place where history, celebration, protest, and everyday life converge. Located in the very heart of the city, the square is more than a meeting point. It is a symbol of national pride, an open-air stage where London tells its story to the world. The square was named to commemorate the Battle of Trafalgar, a crucial naval victory in 1805 where British forces, led by Admiral Horatio Nelson, defeated the combined fleets of France and Spain. This victory secured Britain's naval dominance and became a defining moment in the country's history. At the center of the square stands Nelson's column, rising high above the streets and crowned with a statue of the Admiral himself. The column is guarded by 4 great bronze lions, sculpted with such precision that they seem almost alive. These lions have become iconic figures of London, and it is said that their expressions were carefully crafted to convey both strength and calm vigilance. One enduring story about the lions claims that they were cast from melted-down French cannons captured during the Napoleonic Wars, a detail that would tie the sculpture directly to the victory it commemorates. Whether this is fully true or part of popular legend remains a subject of debate, but the story continues to charm visitors. The square itself was designed by architect John Nash and completed in the mid-19th century, part of a grand vision to create an open civic space that would belong to the people. It quickly became more than a monument, it became the voice of the city. Over the years, Trafalgar Square has been the site of royal celebrations, public protests, cultural festivals, and candlelight vigils. It is where Londoners come to speak, to remember, and to celebrate together. Trafalgar Square is also famous for its fountains, which bring a sense of movement and life to the stone landscape. Originally designed to balance the proportions of the square, they have become places where people gather, relax, and sometimes even take a playful splash on hot days. One intriguing feature of the square is the fourth plinth. Unlike the other three plinths, which hold statues of historic figures, the fourth plinth remained empty for many years. Today, it serves as a platform for rotating contemporary art installations. Each new piece sparks conversation, sometimes celebration, and sometimes controversy, but always invites the public to engage with art in a direct and personal way. Among the many urban legends tied to the square, one suggests that if the ravens of the Tower of London ever fly away, the kingdom will fall, and some say that the lions of Trafalgar Square would also leave their pedestals in protest. This is, of course, a myth, but like many stories associated with the city, it adds a playful layer to the square's grand presence. Trafalgar Square is a place that belongs to everyone. It is a crossroads of past and present, where visitors and Londoners pause to admire the history carved in stone and to witness the life that unfolds around it every day. It is not simply a landmark, it is the living heart of London's public life. Stanislas in Nancy is often described as one of the most beautiful squares in the world. With its perfect proportions, elegant gates, and harmonious design, the square is not only the jewel of Nancy but also a masterpiece of 18th century urban planning. It is a place where architecture, history, and legend come together to create a space that feels timeless. The square was commissioned by Stanislas Leszczynski, the former King of Poland and Duke of Lorraine, who wanted to honor his son-in-law, King Louis XV of France. Completed in 1755, the square was originally known as Place Royale. Stanislas envisioned it as a grand civic space that would connect the medieval Old Town with the newer parts of the city, symbolizing the unity and prosperity of Nancy. What makes Place Stanislas so remarkable is its symmetry and elegance. Surrounded by classical buildings with light stone facades, the square is crowned by ornate gilded gates and delicate ironwork created by the skilled blacksmith Jean Lamour. The beauty of these gates, with their golden leaves and intricate details, still amazes visitors and is one of the defining features of the square. The center originally stood a statue of Louis XV, but after the French Revolution, it was removed and replaced with a statue of Stanislas himself. Today, his figure quietly oversees the life of the square, a ruler who, although from a foreign land, became deeply beloved by the people of Nancy for his generosity and vision. One of the most fascinating stories surrounding Place Stanislas is the tale of its designer, the architect Emmanuel Here. It is said that Here, under pressure to create a square worthy of royal admiration, worked tirelessly to perfect every detail. According to local legend, he walked the square each morning at sunrise, adjusting his plans as the changing light revealed new angles and shadows. Whether fact or embellished story, This image captures the devotion and artistry that shaped the square. There is also a more playful legend whispered by some locals. They say that the golden gates of Place Stanislas are so finely made that if you trace your finger carefully along the delicate curves, the gates will reveal a secret path to the hidden treasures of Lorraine. Though no such treasure has ever been found, the story continues to enchant those who stroll through the square, adding a sense of mystery to its beauty. Over the centuries, Place Stanislas has remained the center of public life in Nancy. It has hosted military parades, civic celebrations, art exhibitions, and daily gatherings. In winter, the square transforms into a festive scene with lights and markets, while in summer, it becomes a grand stage for concerts in the famous sound and light shows that draw visitors from across the world. Today, Place Stanislas is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a living testament to the vision of Stanislas and the craftsmanship of those who brought his dream to life. It is not just a square, it is a place of pride, a place of beauty, and a place where the past continues to speak softly to all who walk its stones. Plaza Mayor is one of the most iconic squares in Spain, a place where the spirit of Madrid is both preserved and lived every day. Enclosed by grand uniform buildings, the square is a perfect stage where centuries of history, celebration, tragedy, and daily life have unfolded. The story of Plaza Mayor begins in the early 17th century, during the reign of King Philip III. It was built as a grand civic space that would reflect the power and elegance of the Spanish capital. The square was designed by architect Juan Gómez de Mora and was officially completed in 1619. At the center stands an equestrian statue of King Philip III himself, a quiet reminder of the monarch who gave this monumental project its start. The square's architecture is remarkable in its balance and unity. Red brick buildings with slate roofs and long arcades create a feeling of enclosure, as though the square were a vast open-air room. This sense of intimacy has made Plaza Mayor a beloved gathering place for generations of Madrid's citizens. Over the centuries, Plaza Mayor has been the stage for a wide range of public events. It hosted royal ceremonies, bullfights, markets, and even trials during the Spanish Inquisition. It was a place where the city came together, for both celebration and sorrow. In the 17th century, the square witnessed autos de fe, public acts of penance where accused heretics were judged before the eyes of the people. It is a part of the square's past that carries a weight of solemn history, standing in contrast to the joy and life that now fill the space. One of the most enduring stories about Plaza Mayor is connected to the bronze statue of King Philip III. For centuries, the statue stood silently, until one day in the 20th century, it was damaged and had to be restored. When workers opened it, they were surprised to discover dozens of small bird skeletons trapped inside. It is believed that birds had entered through a small opening in the statue, unable to escape. After repairs, the statue was sealed to prevent this from happening again. This quiet, unexpected story added a strange and touching layer to the life of the monument. Plaza Mayor has also survived fires, 3 major ones, in fact, each time rebuilt and preserved with care. After the last great fire in the late 18th century, the square was redesigned by architect Juan de Villanueva, who gave it the simpler, elegant form we see today. One of the square's most recognizable buildings is the Casa de la Panaderia, or the bakery house, whose richly decorated facade has watched over the plaza since its earliest days. Today, its painted walls tell stories of Madrid's past through figures and symbols that add color and texture to the square. There are myths, too. Some say that the ghosts of the Inquisition's victims still linger in the quiet arches at night, though the square is now a place of life, laughter, and community. Whether or not such spirits remain, Plaza Mayor is undeniably filled with echoes of its long and complex history. Today, the square is alive with cafes, street performers, festivals, and visitors from around the world. It remains Madrid's great living room, where people pause, where life unfolds, and where the past and present meet under the open sky. Marienplatz is the heart of Munich, a square that has stood at the center of the city's life for more than 8 centuries. Surrounded by grand architecture, ringing with the sound of bells, and alive with festivals, gatherings, and the steady rhythm of daily life, Marienplatz is both a historic monument and a living space. The name Marienplatz, which means Mary's Square, comes from the Marian column that rises at its center. This golden statue of the Virgin Mary was erected in 1638 as a symbol of gratitude after the city was spared from destruction during the 30 Years' War. At her feet, 4 bronze cherubs battle mythological creatures, representing the city's triumph over war, famine, plague, and heresy. The statue has watched over Munich ever since, a quiet protector through times of joy and hardship. The most striking feature of the square is the new town hall, or Neues Rathaus, with its intricate Gothic revival facade and towering clock tower. Built in the late 19th century, it looks older than it truly is, designed to capture the spirit of medieval Germany. The tower houses one of Munich's most beloved attractions, the Glockenspiel. Each day, the Glockenspiel draws crowds who gather to watch the animated figurines perform their dance. As the bells chime, scenes from Munich's history come to life. The upper level shows the wedding of Duke Wilhelm V, complete with a jousting match, while the lower level features the Schaflerdens, or the Cooper's Dance, a tradition that dates back to the time of the plague, when the Coopers danced in the streets to bring cheer and encourage life to return to the city. Legend holds that this dance helped to lift the spirits of Munich's people and symbolized resilience in the face of fear. One story often told about Marienplatz is the tale of the Devil's Footprint. According to legend, the architect of the nearby Frauenkirche, the great cathedral just steps away from the square, made a deal with the devil. In exchange for his help, the devil demanded that the church be built without windows. When the church was completed, the devil stepped inside and, from a specific spot near the entrance, he could see no windows, only solid walls. Thinking he had won, the devil stamped his foot in satisfaction, leaving a mark on the stone floor. But when he moved forward, he realized he had been tricked. The columns had simply hidden the windows from view. In fury, the devil vanished, but his footprint, so the story goes, remains in the cathedral to this day. Throughout the centuries, Marienplatz has been the beating heart of Munich's social and political life. Markets, public announcements, royal proclamations, and celebrations have all unfolded here. Even today, the square is where people gather to celebrate Oktoberfest, to welcome in the new year, or to cheer when Bayern Munich claims another football title. Marienplatz is more than just a beautiful square, it is a place where history is not locked in the past. It is alive in the sound of the bells, in the rhythm of the crowds, and in the stories passed quietly from one generation to the next. Standing here, you are part of a living story that has been unfolding for centuries. Piazza del Campo in Siena is one of the most unique and captivating squares in the world. Unlike the grand, symmetrical plazas of other cities, Piazza del Campo is shaped like a shell, gently sloping down to its center, creating a space that naturally draws people together. This is not just a public square, it is the heart and soul of Siena, where history and tradition are deeply woven into the stones beneath your feet. The square was designed in the 13th century as the civic and political center of Siena. It was carefully planned to be a gathering place where people from all walks of life could meet on equal ground. The brick pavement is divided into 9 distinct sections, which symbolize the Council of Nine, the governing body that ruled Siena during its golden age. These 9 ruling officials brought peace and prosperity to the city, and the square's design still honors their legacy. Towering over the square is the magnificent Palazzo Pubblico, the city's town hall, with its slender and elegant Torre del Monge rising beside it. Built in the 14th century, the tower stands as a powerful statement of civic pride. Unlike many medieval towers that were symbols of church or aristocracy, the Torre del Monge was a monument to the people of Siena and their independence. The tower's curious name, Monge, comes from its first bell ringer, Giovanni di Balduccio, who was nicknamed Mangia Guadagni, or the Profit Eater, because of his reputation for quickly spending his earnings. His nickname remained, and the tower has carried it ever since. Twice each year, Piazza del Campo transforms into a roaring spectacle during the Palio di Siena, one of the most thrilling and historic horse races in the world. This is not a polished sporting event, it is a fierce and deeply personal competition between the city's contrade, or neighborhoods, each with its own colors, symbols, and loyal supporters. Riders, often bareback, race 3 laps around the square at breathtaking speed, surrounded by thousands of cheering spectators. Victory in the Palio is a matter of immense pride, and the traditions, rivalries, and celebrations surrounding the race have been passed down for generations. Legends swirl around the Palio and the square itself. One of the most enduring stories is that the sacred soil of Siena was laid over the square's foundation to protect the city and its people. Others believe that the design of the square, sloping down like a theater, was deliberately intended to make the people of Siena feel as though they were part of a grand performance, constantly connected to the life of their city. Piazza del Campo is not a place you simply visit, it is a place you experience. Whether you are watching the sun cast golden light on the red brick at sunset, listening to the bells ring out from the Torre del Monja, or sitting quietly at one of the many cafes that frame the square, you are stepping into a living story that has been unfolding for centuries. Here, history does not rest in museums. It lives in the air, in the footsteps of the people, and in the traditions that continue to bring this extraordinary square to life. Salamanca is often called the most beautiful square in Spain. Unlike many grand plazas that impress with size or extravagance, Plaza Mayor captures hearts with its golden stone, its harmonious proportions, and the quiet sense of pride that fills the air. It is not just the physical center of Salamanca, it is the soul of the city. The square was built in the 18th century, commissioned by King Philip V and designed by the architect Alberto de Churriguera. His work gave the square its graceful Baroque style, with elegant arches, balconies, and a sense of perfect balance. The sandstone used in its construction gives Plaza Mayor its distinctive golden glow, especially when the light of sunset brushes against the stone, bathing the entire space in warm, honey-colored tones. Surrounding the square are uniform buildings with grand arcades, creating a feeling of both openness and intimacy. The facades are decorated with medallions honoring famous figures from Spanish history, kings, poets, military leaders, and saints. These small portraits offer a quiet tribute to the people who shaped the nation's story. At the heart of the square, people have gathered for centuries. Plaza Mayor was once the stage for royal proclamations, public celebrations, and even bullfights, which were held in the open space long before they were confined to arenas. The square was not simply for show, it was a living, breathing place where the daily life of Salamanca unfolded. One of the most cherished stories about Plaza Mayor is connected to its construction. Local legend says that the city ran out of funds before the square was finished. According to the tale, the people of Salamanca, so proud of the beauty being built in their midst, pooled their own money to complete the project. Whether this story is strictly true or not, it speaks to the deep affection the people of Salamanca have always felt for their square. There is another quiet legend tied to the medallions on the facades. Some say that if you walk the entire square and gently trace the faces carved in stone, one by one, you will be led to a hidden message left by the builders, a secret known only to those who take the time to look closely. This story has never been confirmed, but it adds a sense of mystery to the beauty of the square. The rhythms of Plaza Mayor have always shifted with the seasons and the centuries. It has seen markets, protests, concerts, and intimate daily rituals. In modern times, the square remains the favorite meeting place for students from Salamanca's ancient university, one of the oldest in Europe. Here, friends gather under the arcades, conversations linger into the night, and the gentle hum of life never fades. What makes Plaza Mayor truly special is not just its architecture or its history, but the way it welcomes everyone. It is a place where the past feels present, but never distant, a square that holds stories not in silence, but in the footsteps of those who pass through it each day. Standing in Plaza Mayor, you feel that you are not just observing history, you are part of it, woven into the living fabric of Salamanca's most treasured space. Old Town Square in Prague is one of Europe's most enchanting public spaces, where Gothic spires, Baroque facades, and centuries of history come together in a setting that feels almost timeless. As you step into the square, it feels as though you are entering a living painting, one where the past is never out of reach. The square has been the heart of Prague since the 12th century, a place where merchants from across Europe once gathered for open-air markets. Even today, the square is alive with street performers, flower stalls, and the steady flow of people, yet it also holds the weight of great triumphs, dramatic uprisings, and quiet legends that continue to shape the city's soul. One of the most striking landmarks here is the Old Town Hall, with its towering Gothic structure and its world-famous astronomical clock. Installed in 1410, this clock is not only a medieval marvel of engineering, it is a symbol of Prague's ingenuity. Every hour, crowds gather to watch the clock's procession of moving figures, the 12 apostles, the figure of death, and other symbolic characters that remind viewers of the passage of time and the fragility of life. Legend has it that after the clockmaker completed his masterpiece, the city's leaders blinded him to prevent him from replicating his work elsewhere. In his grief, he is said to have damaged the clock, and it remained silent until it was finally restored. Whether the story is true or not, it lingers as part of the clock's mystique. Dominating the skyline is the Church of Our Lady before Tin, its twin Gothic spires rising high above the square. The church seems to watch over the city like a silent guardian, its dramatic silhouette casting long shadows over the cobblestones below. Some say the two towers are meant to represent both the masculine and feminine sides of faith, forever balanced yet distinct. The square has also witnessed moments of deep sorrow and defiance. In 1621, following the Battle of White Mountain, 27 leaders of the Bohemian Revolt were executed here by the ruling Habsburgs. To this day, 27 white crosses are inlaid in the pavement as a quiet memorial to their sacrifice. The shadow of that event still hangs gently over the square, a reminder of the price of freedom and the complexities of Prague's past. At the center of the square stands the statue of Jan Hus, the Czech religious reformer who was burned at the stake in 1415 for challenging the power of the Catholic Church. His monument, unveiled in 1915, shows him standing tall and resolute, a symbol of national pride, moral courage, and the search for truth. According to local tradition, on the eve of important moments in Czech history, the statue seems to almost lean forward, watching over the people he once inspired. There are quieter stories too, of secret tunnels that supposedly run beneath the square, of hidden treasures, and of ghosts that roam near midnight. Whether one believes these tales or not, the atmosphere of the square invites such stories to be told. Old Town Square is not merely a beautiful space, it is a place where history breathes, where every stone has a memory, and where the ancient and the modern walk side by side. To stand here is to feel connected, not just to Prague, but to the long, winding story of Europe itself. Rynek, the main market square of Krakow, is one of the largest and most beautiful medieval squares in Europe. It is not just the geographic center of the city, it is its beating heart. Surrounded by Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque buildings, the square has been the stage for Krakow's history, celebrations, and quiet daily life for over 700 years. Established in the 13th century after the city was rebuilt following a devastating Mongol invasion, the square was carefully planned to serve as the commercial, political, and social core of Krakow. Its perfect symmetry, vast open space, and grand architecture make it one of Europe's finest examples of medieval urban design. At its center stands the Cloth Hall, or Sukienus, a long and graceful structure that has served as a trading hub for centuries. Once, merchants from all over Europe and Asia gathered here to buy and sell fabrics, spices, and precious goods. Even today, the Cloth Hall is alive with bustling market stalls, offering souvenirs, handicrafts, and echoes of its vibrant past. Dominating one side of the square is the impressive St. Mary's Basilica, with its twin towers rising high above the rooftops. Each hour, from the taller of the two towers, a trumpet call, known as the Hejnal Mariaki, sounds out across the city. The melody cuts off suddenly, mid-note. According to legend, this tradition honors a trumpeter who was sounding the alarm during a surprise Mongol attack in the 13th century. As he played, an enemy arrow struck him in the throat, silencing the warning call. Today, the unfinished tune is played every hour, a living memory of courage and sacrifice. There is also a quiet rivalry tied to St. Mary's Basilica. The two towers are of different heights, and legend says they were built by two brothers. When the younger brother realized his tower would be shorter, jealousy consumed him, and in a fit of rage, he killed his older brother. Grief eventually overcame him, and he threw himself from the tower. The knife said to be used in the tragic story is still displayed at the entrance to the Cloth Hall, hanging as a quiet reminder of ambition, guilt, and the high price of pride. The square itself has been a witness to every chapter of Krakow's history, from royal processions and joyous celebrations to occupations, uprisings, and political transformations. Beneath the square, archaeological remains have been carefully preserved in the Rynek Underground Museum, where layers of the past reveal the stories of medieval trade routes, city defenses, and the people who shaped the life of the square over centuries. Even in modern times, Rynek is a place of gathering and memory. Christmas markets, festivals, concerts, and protests all find their voice here. The square changes with the seasons but never loses its soul. It remains a living stage where the history of Krakow continues to unfold. Standing in Rynek, you do not simply observe history, you feel it. In the rhythm of footsteps on the cobblestones, in the sound of the hourly trumpet call, and in the stories that linger in the air, the past and present of Krakow quietly embrace. Piazza San Marco, or St. Mark's Square, is often called the drawing room of Europe. It is the heart of Venice, a place where history, power, beauty, and mystery come together in a square that feels like the stage of a grand, timeless performance. As you step into this vast, open space, the weight of centuries seems to settle around you, yet the square remains vibrant and alive. Piazza San Marco has been the political, religious, and social center of Venice for nearly 1,000 years. It is framed by some of the city's most iconic landmarks: the majestic St. Mark's Basilica, the soaring campanile, the elegant arcades of the Procurati, and the proud Palazzo Ducale, or Doge's Palace, where the rulers of Venice once governed one of the most powerful republics in the world. At the heart of the square stands St. Mark's Basilica, a masterpiece of Byzantine architecture, with its shimmering mosaics, intricate domes, and rich blend of Eastern and Western influences. The basilica was built to house the relics of St. Mark the Evangelist, which, according to legend, were smuggled out of Alexandria by two Venetian merchants in the 9th century. Disguising the relics beneath layers of pork to fool Muslim guards, they successfully returned them to Venice, where the saint would become the city's eternal protector. The square is also home to the famous Campanile, the tall bell tower that offers sweeping views over the city and the lagoon. The original tower collapsed in 1902 but was carefully rebuilt, stone by stone, in exactly the same form. Venetians like to say, with a touch of humor, where it was, as it was. Perhaps the most enchanting daily ritual in the square is the flooding known as acqua alta, the high water that periodically seeps into Piazza San Marco from the surrounding canals. Wooden walkways appear, allowing people to cross, while reflections dance across the surface of the shallow water. Though this is a challenge for the city, it is also a phenomenon that ties Venice forever to the sea and reminds visitors of the delicate balance between land and water. Piazza San Marco is not without its legends. One story tells of the mysterious winged lion, the symbol of St. Mark, that guards the city from the top of a granite column at the edge of the square. Some say the lion comes to life at night, spreading its wings to patrol the skies over Venice, ensuring the city's safety. Another tale suggests that beneath the stones of the square lie secret passages once used by spies and merchants to navigate the city's complex web of alliances and rivalries. The square has witnessed grand festivals, political ceremonies, and even Napoleon's arrival in Venice. When Napoleon entered the city in 1797, he is said to have called Piazza San Marco the finest drawing room in Europe, a title that has lingered ever since. Today, the square continues to pulse with life. Cafes with orchestras playing softly, pigeons fluttering across the stones, and the steady rhythm of footsteps all add to its unique atmosphere. It is a place where the past breathes alongside the present, where stories are not confined to books or museums but live in the very air. Piazza San Marco is more than a landmark, it is the soul of Venice, a square that holds the memories of 1,000 years and invites every visitor to become part of its ongoing story. Grand Place, known as Grootmarkt in Dutch, is the glittering heart of Brussels. It is a square that leaves visitors in awe, not because of its size, but because of its sheer beauty. Surrounded by gilded guildhalls, the elegant town hall, and the king's house, the square feels like stepping into a grand jewel box, where every building tells its own story. The square has been the center of Brussels' life since the 11th century, when it began as a simple marketplace. Over time, it became the backdrop for royal proclamations, markets, festivals, and even more somber events like executions. The buildings that frame Grand Place today rose to glory in the late 17th century, after much of the square was destroyed by a French bombardment in 1695. The people of Brussels rebuilt it with extraordinary dedication and detail, creating one of the most beautiful squares in Europe. The town hall is perhaps the most striking structure. Its soaring Gothic tower seems to reach for the sky, topped with a statue of Saint Michael, the patron saint of Brussels, triumphing over a dragon. Legend says the town hall's architect, upon realizing the building was slightly asymmetrical, climbed to the top of the tower and, overwhelmed by the mistake, threw himself to his death. Whether or not this is true, the story continues to be whispered as visitors stand in the square and search for the slight imbalance. Opposite the town hall is the King's House, known as the Maison du Roi in French and Broodhuis in Dutch, which ironically never housed a king. Originally a simple bread market, it later served as the administrative center of the city. Today, it houses the Brussels City Museum, where you can find, among many treasures, costumes for the beloved Mannequin Pie's statue. The surrounding guildhalls add to the square's richness. Each was built by a different trade guild: brewers, butchers, bakers, boatmen, each adorned with golden details, statues, and crests that proudly showcase the skill and wealth of their members. One of the most famous is the House of the Brewers, which still serves as the headquarters of the Brewers Guild and now holds a museum dedicated to Belgian beer. Among the many legends tied to Grand Place, one speaks of a secret tunnel that runs from the square to the city walls, once used by royalty and merchants to escape during times of siege. Though no such tunnel has ever been discovered, the story persists, adding a quiet layer of mystery to this already magical place. Every 2 years in August, Grand Place is transformed by the famous flower carpet, a vast, intricate tapestry of begonias carefully arranged by hundreds of volunteers. For a few days, the square becomes a living artwork, a reminder of both the square's elegance and the pride Brussels takes in its traditions. Grand Place is not simply admired, it is felt. The sound of footsteps on the cobblestones, the murmur of people in awe, the golden light that plays across the facades, it all creates an atmosphere where history and beauty are inseparable. More than just the most beautiful square in Brussels, Grand Place is a place of memory, of resilience, and of wonder. It stands not only as a monument to the past, but as a square that continues to bring people together in the heart of the city.